Hi there and welcome to another video from Hegartymaths. It's Mr. Hegarty here and we're doing another GCSE Maths Higher revision video. This is our 25th one and we're doing cumulative frequency diagrams. Now, just to remind you how this works, firstly I'll just show you the website. If you go to the website, if you go to revise GCSE, okay, and then secure a C in higher course, I've made 25 videos so far and I'm going to make another few. Another 8 or so, and they should 24. These should definitely secure you at least a C at GCSE if you know all of these. Now you can work your way through the videos. If you register on the website, you can also track your progress. So, how the videos work? They work as follows. I can't teach you the whole topic, but I'll briefly introduce the topic. You can look at the website for actual full tutorials on the topic. Then I'll show an example and then I'll ask you to pause the video. You try all the past exam questions that have come up. Then what I do is then I will, you unpause the video, I'll go through all the solutions and you mark your work and assess how good you are. Okay, let's start with cumulative frequency diagrams. Okay, firstly a bit of good news. Seems to always come up. It's come out 6 out of 6 times in the exams. It tends to be around 7 marks. It tends to be around 7 marks. So it's a great topic to master. The questions the examiner can ask. Well, firstly, just cumulative. What does cumulative mean? Cumulative means a result. It's the result of adding. It's basically the result of adding, okay? So you'll see that when I show you how to do an example. And here are the questions the examiner can ask. So it's worth listing these, and then as I go through the video at the end, check whether I've covered all of these off. So the first question an examiner can ask is to complete I'm going to use CF for cumulative frequency, the cumulative frequency table. Okay, the second thing they can get you to do, which is very easily, it's usually 2 marks, 1 or 2 marks. The second thing they can get you to do is draw the cumulative frequency diagram or graph. And that can be 2 or 3 marks. Okay, the next thing they can do is they can ask you to use the graph, so use the graph you've just drawn, to estimate the median. And number 4, they can get you to again use the graph to estimate the lower quartile, what's called the lower quartile. They can get you to do the exact same thing but to estimate the upper quartile. So I'm just going to do ... like this. The upper quartile. Okay, the next thing that they can get you to do therefore is to work out the interquartile range. And then there are 2 more questions there's 2 more ideas they tend to ask. I'm going to put 7. They might say estimate how many people, or whatever you're measuring, how many below a certain number. So estimate the number of people below, I don't know, like 40 kilograms. They'll do estimate the number of people above, and they ask that one as well. Estimate how many people, or whatever you're measuring, above a certain number. Okay, and the very last thing they can get you to do, they can get you to draw a box plot, which will be in the next video, so I'm not going to cover that in this video. Draw a box plot using your cumulative frequency diagram. So that's basically everything they can ask you. I'm going to show you an example that covers the whole lot apart from the box plot, then I'm going to let you do the exam questions. So let's have a go. Here's a typical example. So this is the one you're working through with me learning. This is what's called a frequency table, and it gives you information about the age of 60 teachers. So what's this table all about? Well, what it's saying is that all of these add up to 60 teachers, right? And it's saying that 12 teachers are between 20 and 30 years old. It says that 15 teachers are between 30 and 40 years old. It says 18 teachers are between 40 and 50. It says that 12 teachers are between 50 and 60. And it says there's only 3 teachers in the school out of the 60 who are between 60 and 70. Okay, so that's what that information is telling you. And the first thing it asks you to do is draw a cumulative frequency diagram. Now, do you remember I told you at the start, I said cumulative means the result of adding on each time. So what you do is this. Firstly, between 20 and 30 age, there's clearly 12 people. So you just put 12, the first number there. Now, between 20 and 40 people, there are the 20 to 30 people, which is 12, and the 30 to 40 people, which is 15. So basically, we do 12, the first row, add 15, the second row, and we get 27. So we've added these two here to get this one. And then what we do is, to get between 20 and 50, we add all 3 of them. But what we can do is, we know that up to this point is 27. These two have added to 27, so I add another 18. So this one, I do 27, the number above, add 18. Okay? And 27 add 18 is 45. Right, how will I get the next number? Well, I'll start off at this 45 here, and I'm going to add on this 12. So I'm going to add on 12, and I'm going to get to 57. And the last thing, I'm going to take that 57, and I'm going to add on this 3, and I'm going to get to 60. Now, how do you know if you've done it right? There's a little check for you. This number here, 60, must add up to the total number of teachers or plants or whatever you're measuring in your example. So because that's 60, I know I should have done it right for sure. Okay, there's the first thing. Remember I told you they said they'd get you to complete the cumulative frequency table? Done. The next thing, we've got to draw the cumulative frequency diagram. And how do you do this? Well, what you do is you take these numbers here, the end numbers of your group, and you plot them against your cumulative frequency numbers, where these numbers are going to be your x numbers, how far across you go, and these are going to be your y numbers, how far up you go. So our coordinates from this, our coordinates from this are that we're going to plot together are going to be 30 across 12 up. Then we're going to plot 40 across 27 up. Then we're going to plot 50 across 45 up. Then we're going to plot 60 across 57 up. And lastly, we're going to plot 70 across and 60 up. Okay, so we're going to plot those on a diagram, and they always give you the diagram. Here it is. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go back here. I've taken that information, and I'm going to just plot it on this diagram and join the dots. So, before I launch into it, I just have a quick look to see what each little square is worth. There are 10 squares there worth 10 years, so each little square is worth 1, and similarly 10 squares there worth 10 frequency, which each square is worth 1. So that's the best case scenario, nice easy one. 30 across 12 up, 30 across and 12 up, you're at 10, 11, 12, put across. 40 across 27, 40 across 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. 50 across 45 up, go to 50, go up, and we're going to 45, so here's 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. 60 across 57, so 60 across, we're at 50 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as such. And lastly, 70 across and 60 up, so we're at 70, and we go up to 60. Always mark off your top value. There's 60, your top value, like that. So, what are we going to do? Let's just join these dots together. So we're going to join that one to that one, we're going to join that one to that one, join that one to that one, and we're going to join that one to that one. Okay, at this point, I suppose you're asking yourself, does there need to be anything here? And it would be best to join this up to this 0 point here. This is saying that there's nobody is less than or equal to 20 years. So we're going to just join that up just for the sake of it, okay? Right, so we have done the next thing I said. Do you remember I said we were going to show you how to draw the cumulative frequency diagram? There you go. Having done the table, you can do that. Now we're going to go back here and we're going to answer these questions here. We're going to work out the median from the graph, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, the interquartile range, the number of teachers below 25 years old, the number of teachers above 25 years old. So here we go. Let's go for the median first of all. Now the median, okay, happens in the middle. You remember the median happens in the middle. Now how many teachers are there? It's going back here, it's not the middle here, it's the middle of 60. Okay, because remember in the question there were 60 teachers? So the middle happens at the 30th teacher. So what you do, you must draw a line in doing this. You draw a line across from 30 teachers, and then you go down when you hit your cumulative frequency graph, and that looks like to me 41 years old. So the median from my graph is 41 years old. Okay, now the lower quartile, what does that mean again? Well, the lower quartile is the 25th percent number. Now let's just look back here. It means halfway between the bottom number 0 and the middle. 25% is halfway between the starting point and the middle. So it's going to happen halfway between 0 and 30, which is 15. So we're going to draw a line across from 15 this time, and we're going to mark it down, and we're going to get 32. So the best thing to do here is call that your lower quartile, and that's 32. And remember, this was your median, and we said it was 41. So going back here, it's 32 years old. Okay, let's work out our upper quartile. What's that? Well, it's the 3/4 number, or the 75th percent number. So looking back here, it's clearly halfway between 30 and 60. Now between 30 and 60 is 30 long, so halfway is 15 long, so it's 15 up from here, it'll be at 45. Again, must draw your line from 45 to here, and then read it down as follows, and we look like it's 50 years old. So make sure in your diagram you label that, that's your upper quartile, and it seems like it's 50. Go back and answer the question, it's 50 years old. Now, what's the interquartile range? You should have seen this on a previous video, and you will see it more on box plots coming up in the following video, but the interquartile range is defined to be the upper quartile, which I'll call UQ, take away the lower quartile, which I'll call LQ. So it's the answer for 50 years old, take away 32. So it's 50 subtract 32, which is equal to 18 years old. Okay, so sometimes they won't ask you to work out the lower and upper quartile. They'll jump straight and ask you to work out the interquartile range. You know that must mean first, step 1, work out the lower quartile, step 2, work out the upper quartile, and then take them away. So sometimes it's all hidden into one question. Okay, the last two things, and they love these two ideas, so they absolutely love this. I'm going to give us more space for this. They ask you the number of teachers below 25 years old and the number of teachers above 45 years old, something like that. So the key idea here, we're looking at how many teachers are below 25, and later we're looking at how many teachers are older or above 25. You've got to spot whether they're asking a below or under question or an above or over question. Okay, so is it below or under question, or is it above and or over question? The slightly different variations. This one's a tiny bit easier, this one's a tiny bit more difficult, just an extra step maybe. Right, so how many teachers are below 25? You go back to your graph. You find 25 years on your graph. Right, and so what you do is, let's do it in a different colour pen. You find 25 here, and you draw a line this time up from 25. So you draw a line up from 25, and then you read across to where you get to on here. And it's 0, 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like it's 6 people or 6 teachers. So that's an estimate. So you just draw your line up from 25 and read across, and it's nice and simple, and you think it's 6 teachers. Now, how many above 45? Well, you do a similar idea, you do a very similar idea. You get your pen, you get your ruler out again, and you find 45, and it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. You draw your line up to where it meets, and you read across. Now, when you read across, that looks like it's 38. But this time, 38 is not your answer. You're looking for how many above or over 45, so it's this distance you're looking for. How do you get from 38 to 60? It's that distance. You can't just write down 38, it's the difference between 60 and 38, which you can work out by doing 60 subtract 38, which would give you the answer 22 years old. Just going back there, why is that? Because 2 gets you up to 40 and another 20 gets you here. It's 22 years. Sorry, not 22 years old, 22 teachers, my fault. 22 teachers. Okay, so going back here, it wasn't 22 years old at all, it was 22 teachers. And they're everything they can basically ask you in cumulative frequency. The last thing they could do, they ask you to draw the box plot from this, and I'm going to do that in the next video. Okay, so that's everything. There's all your notes. Hopefully that all made sense. How to work out the median halfway, the lower quartile are halfway between the bottom and halfway, the upper quartile halfway between the middle and the top, and then how to read less than questions, how many people are less than this, and how to read more than questions. They're basically everything you've got to do. Right, time to pause the video, time to do all the exam questions, and then afterwards mark it. So pause the video now. In 10 seconds, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you the answers for all of them for you to mark it. First one. Okay, part A, complete the cumulative frequency table. This is about the speeds of 100 lorries. I know that this answer here, when I complete my cumulative frequency table, better add up to 100 or I've done it wrong. So firstly, I put 2 in this one, then I do 2 add 9, so 2 add 9 here is 11. Then I do 11 add 23 for this one, 11 add 23, which is going to be equal to 34. Then I do 34 add 31, so 34 add the 31 here, this one add that one, it's going to be 65. Then I do what I've got so far, 65 add the 27, 65 add yourself 27 is going to be 92. And lastly I'm going to do 92 plus 8, which gives me my 100. So 92 plus 8 gives me my 100. I know that because I've added that to there and it's the same as that, I've probably done it right. Okay, great start so far. Now remember what I've got to do. I've got to plot the end number of my group, so it's going to be these numbers here against these numbers here. So I'm going to plot the coordinates. I might as well write them down. 20 across and 2 up. I'm going to plot 40 across, 11 up. I'm going to plot 60 across, 34 up. I'm going to plot 80 across, 65 up. I'm going to plot 100 across, 92 up. And I'm going to plot 120 across, 100 up. Okay, on my cumulative frequency diagram. So here was the next part. They asked me to draw it. So if you were doing it purely off the video, you may want to pause the video and do it now. Otherwise, I'm going through now. So I'm going to plot these points. Okay, so let's do that as quick as we can. 20 across, 2 up. Let's just see. There are 5 squares here worth 10. So each little square must be worth 2, because 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So each square is worth 2 here. Oh look, they've done something funny with the scale here. That must be 10. That must be 30. That must be 40. That must be 50. And that must, sorry, done a mistake here myself, sorry. That must be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, like that. So each square here, there's 5 little squares are worth 10, so each one again here is worth 2. It's useful for plotting. So 20 across, 2 up, 20 across. Now 2 up isn't 2 squares here, it's just 1 square. So it's very important you spot that. 40 across, 11 up, 40 across, we get to 10. We don't go a whole square, we go half a square, like that. 60 across, 34 up, 60 across, 30, 2 and 4, so you go up 2 squares there. 80 across, 65 up, so 80 across, get to 60, 2, 4 and halfway gets you to 5. 100 across, 92 up, so 100 across, 92, like that, and 120 across, 100 up, 120 across, 100 up. Mark off your top number so you've got it, and we're just going to join the dots. So join the dot from there to there, there to there, there to there, there to there, and there to there, and we can just join it back to 0 as well. Okay, there's our cumulative frequency diagram. And part C, it says find an estimate for the number of lorries with a speed of more than 90. It's a more than question. So, what do? We get our ruler out and we find 90 kilometers on the axis. This is here. We draw a line up until we get to our cumulative frequency diagram. Then we draw a line across, and it looks to me like it'll be easier in the rhythm, but it looks like 78 cumulative frequency. Now that's not the answer. Remember, when it's more than, we're looking how much above this point. So it's the distance between 78 and 100. So we can do 100, take away 78, which is going to be equal to 22. And 22 lorries is our answer. So we're done in that question. Right, here's the next one. So we're asked to draw a cumulative frequency, then we're asked to plot it, and then we're asked to find the interquartile range and the number of workers more than 530. If you want to pause the video, you can. I'm going to go through in 5 seconds. Okay, so let's complete this diagram. I'm sure you're getting quick at this. There are 80 factory workers. This must add to 80 when I've done it. I firstly put 8 in here. Then I do 8 at 15, which is 23. Then I do 23 at 30, which is 53. Then I do 53 at 17, which is equal to 60. Which is equal to 70. Then I do 70 at 7, which is 77. And lastly 77 at 3, which is 80. Because I matched up that 80 with that 80, I can be confident I've done it correct. So first thing's done for 1 mark. Now what we're going to do is plot this number here against our cumulative frequency in a diagram. So what are we going to plot together? Let's just write it down as coordinates. We're going to plot 200 against 8. We're going to plot 300 against 23. We're going to plot 400 against 53. We're going to plot 500 against 70. We're going to plot 600 against 77. And we're going to plot 700 against 80. Okay, so far so good. Let's go to our diagram and actually draw it. Okay, just before we launch into the diagram, let's just check the axes and what each squares are worth. There are 10 squares here worth 100, so each one must be worth 10, right? So each square must be worth 10 because 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And there are 10 squares worth 10 here, so each little square is worth 1, the way we like it, nice and easy. Right, 200 versus 8, 200, and we go up 8 to here, done. 300 against 23, 300, 20, 1, 2, 3, done, tick it up. 400 against 53, 400, up to 50, 1, 2, 3, done. 500 against 70, 500 against 70, done. 600 against 77, there's 75, 6 and 7, done. 700 against 80, done like that. Let's join the dots now. Join the dot from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, and there to there, and we can join. We don't have to join the dot back to 0 here, it doesn't really matter in the question. If we want to, we can join the dots back to 0 like that, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, use your graph to find an estimate for the interquartile range. Now, do you remember I told you sometimes they do this, the interquartile range. The interquartile range, which I'll write as IQR, I'll write it for short IQR, you've got to know it's the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile. So go to our graph. we have to use the graph to get the upper and lower quartile. Now there's 80 people. The middle must happen at, the median must happen at 40. So what's halfway between the bottom 0 and 40? Well, it's 20. And halfway between 40 and 80 is 60. So they're going to be our lower quartile and our upper quartile. So we don't need the median in this question, so be careful not to draw it. You don't need it. You draw a line across from 20, which is going to be the lower quartile, till it reaches your graph, and then you read down. And you go across from 60, which is the upper quartile, till it reaches your graph, and read down. So the lower quartile here, well, that looks like it's 210, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Looks around 280. And the upper quartile here looks 410, 20, 30, 40. So the upper quartile looks like 440. Let's go back to here. The upper quartile is 440. Subtract 280 as follows, and we're going to get ourselves a 160. So it's 160 is the estimate for the interquartile range. Okay, then it says, use your graph to find an estimate of the number of workers with a weekly wage of, oh look, more than £530. It's a more than question. So, back to the graph. We find £530. And then what we do is we draw a line up from 530. So 10, 20, 30, draw a line up here till it reaches our cumulative frequency graph and read across. We seem to be getting the answer 72. Shall I just write that down? No, because it's a more than question, I'm looking for above from 72 to 80. How far is that? So it's 8, obviously. So it's the answer to 80, subtract 72, which is equal to 8 workers, as follows. Okay, next question. Again, it's going to ask you to draw the cumulative frequency graph from that, and then it says find the median and the interquartile range. Okay, and that's our last question. So you may want to pause it now. I'm going through in 5 seconds. Okay, so let's go through this one, very similar to the old ones. We want to draw the cumulative frequency. This is our frequency. We have to have a cumulative frequency table. So they didn't give us the space to fill one in this time. They just assumed that we would have to do it. So we need to create our own third column for cumulative frequency. What goes here? 4. What goes here? The answer to 4, add the 5, which is 9. What goes here? 9 add the 16, which is 25. What goes here? The 25 add the 27, which is 52. What goes here? 52 add the 5, which is 57. And what goes here? The 57 add the 3, which is 60. Okay, so you know you've kind of done it right when you've got 60 and it was 60 students. Now, just a little twist there for you to bear in mind. They didn't give you the other table. They didn't ask you to draw the table. They assumed that you'd go and work it out yourself. Remember, you've got to step 1, work out the cumulative totals. They're the things you plot against this number here. So we're going to plot these numbers against these numbers, not against these numbers. So we're quickly going to write our coordinates. So we're going to plot 150 with 4. We're going to plot 160 against 9. We're going to plot 170 against 25. We're going to plot 180 against 52. We're going to plot 190 against 57. And we're going to plot 200 against 60. Okay, so taking these to the next page. Paste them there. Just before we launch in, what's each axis worth? 10 squares there worth 10. Each square must be worth 1. Our favourite scenario, 10 squares there worth 10. 1 for each little square. The nice easy scenario. So let's plot these. 150 with 4, there. 160 with 9, there. 170 with 25, there. 180 with 52, there. 190 with 57, which is there. And 200 with 60, which is there. Let's join the dots, there to there, there to there, there to there, there to there, there to there. We could just go there to there if we want to, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we've done that part. Now it's asking us to find the following: an estimate for the median and the interquartile range. Now, going back to the question, there are 60 students, so we know the median must happen at the 30th student. So line across from 30, read it down, it looks to me like that's 172, so 172 is the median, 172. Okay, so straight away we can say that 172 is the median. The interquartile range, the IQR, can you remember what it is? It's the upper quartile, subtract the lower quartile. We need to go to our graph to find those. Now, the lower quartile is halfway between 0 and 30, must be at 15, and the upper quartile is halfway between 30 and 60, which must be at 45. So what we're going to do is we are going to clearly draw those lines in, so from 15 until we get to our line, and then we're going to read down, and then we're going to go from 45 till we get to our line, and we're going to read down. It looks to me like the lower quartile is 164 roughly, and this one, the upper quartile, is going to be equal to 178. Yeah? So we go back here and we write down that it's 178 subtract 164, and we get an answer of 18 for that. So it's 18 centimetres, 3 marks for that. And we're done. That's everything on cumulative frequency. I hope you found that comprehensive and useful. Thanks loads for watching. Make sure you tune in next time for box plots, which very nicely links to this topic.